the history of the Philippines. The combined military effort of the Armed Forces of the Philippines in partnership with foreign militaries have accelerated the humanitarian assistance and disaster operations. And to fully maximize the efforts, a Multinational Coordinating Center was organized on November 16, 2013 to coordinate and synchronize military-to-military operations between member countries along with the Armed Forces of the Philippines, which includes the US, UK, Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Sweden, Vietnam, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Spain, Thailand, the UAE, Israel, among others. It is worthy to clarify that the Multinational Coordinating Center shall assist and shall be subordinate to the NDRRMC. As stated, it will facilitate military-to-military cooperation and coordination between the AFP and the U.S. Joint Task Force in support of the NDRRMC and USAID. The Multinational Coordinating Center exercise command over forces. Rather, it will provide a process and a conduit for multinational coordination and planning to facilitate selection, coordination, and integration of efforts among the participating nations' militaries for effective mission accomplishment. Through this MNCC, we will sustain and even enhance the relief efforts provided by the AFP in partnership with the U.S. forces and other foreign militaries to deliver basic services to our countrymen. In this light, may we reiterate our sincerest gratitude to all foreign militaries for their continued support of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and for the HADR, Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief Operations, for the communities affected by the typhoon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the United States of America, may we now hear the Acting Deputy Chief of Mission, Ms. Tina Malone.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here in the spirit of all hands on deck today. The government of the Philippines is responding to one of the largest disasters this country has ever faced, and it has been dedicated in its efforts. The scope of this disaster is larger than any single nation should ever have to cope with on its own. Our friendship has been long-term. Our commitment remains long-term. And our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the people of the Philippines. After a formal request from the government of the Philippines, the United States arrived ready to help, along with other nations. Our role was to amplify the government of the Philippines' response by providing extra help in a time of need, in the spirit of Damayan. The initial relief effort was badly hampered by destroyed infrastructure and blocked roads, and helping the Philippines address these logistical constraints has been a top United States priority. Our Defense Department has played an invaluable role in providing short-term airlift capability and the humanitarian community's capacity to deliver aid to the hardest hit areas is increasing daily. The fact that USAID is working hand in glove with the Department of Defense Pacific Command has proven critical to helping overcome the obstacles to delivering aid that were initially encountered in the effort. To date, the United States has provided more than $47 million in humanitarian assistance to those affected by Typhoon Yolanda. 7 airlifts from the United States Agency of International Development's Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance warehouses outside the country have now arrived in the Philippines. These flights carried water, containers for household water needs, plastic sheeting for temporary shelter, and hygiene kits to prevent the spread of illness, as well as specialized food products to help feed hungry children and adults. The government of the Philippines, working with USAID partner World Food Program, has provided nearly 2.6 million food parcels to those in need. The food parcels include rice, locally procured by the World Food Program, with funding from USAID. We continue to coordinate with and to support the government of the Philippines and the people of the Philippines as they respond, rebuild, and recover. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, may we now listen to the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Manuel D. Bautista.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today we are joined by our friends from different countries with different cultures who stand united in disastrous consequences of Super Typhoon Yolanda. We would like to express our sincerest gratitude to those who came in our dire need with their generous deployment of logistical assets and personnel to help in our relief operations. To address the monitoring and coordination requirements of having 16 countries operating under one cause, we have established the Multinational Coordinating Center. This was organized to coordinate and synchronize military-to-military operations and facilitate cooperation between the AFP and the U.S. Joint Task Force in support of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council and the USAID. As of now, our foreign contingents of a total of 61 air assets and 14 naval vessels, along with hundreds of rescue and medical personnel, responding swiftly and regularly to areas with critical and immediate needs for resource and relief. The MNCC's task is to ensure that these movements are monitored and fit perfectly to the general situation of disaster relief efforts of the national government. 13 naval vessels from the United States are positioned southeast of Samar Island and east of Leyte Island, where they could augment relief operations in badly hit areas of Tacloban City, Giwan, Palo, Borongan, and Calikawan, among others. The HMS Daring of the United Kingdom is positioned northeast of Panay Island, servicing mostly areas of Capiz. Airlifting of evacuees, relief goods, medical and engineering equipment and personnel is also ongoing with foreign cargo aircraft and helicopters. 7 C-130s from the US, Australia, and Japan, and several foreign helicopters are also on relief missions, while others are on standby status for immediate deployment as necessary. The relief efforts will augment that of the AFP, who has transported more than 4 million pounds of relief goods by air, naval, and land assets. We will continue to monitor said operations and deployments on the national level, and we will update you accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Representing the United States Armed Forces, may we now hear the JTF 505 Commander, Lieutenant General John Whistler.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to offer on behalf of U.S. service members who are participating in supporting the relief exercise our heartfelt condolences to the people of the Philippines. As was stated, this tragedy would have brought any nation to its knees. But as I've been out and around and visiting the sites that have been hit by this terrible, terrible tragedy, the one thing that comes to me is the resilience of the people of the Philippines. From the government to the armed forces of the Philippines, to their private sector, to the people who have been affected by this, your resilience and your coming together has made this partnership easy as we have come here to try and help and support. The government of the Philippines and the armed forces of the Philippines are in the lead in this operation. And let me make that very clear. We are simply here to support. Joint Task Force 505 is providing some unique capabilities that were needed early on, and we will continue to provide those capabilities until such time as they are no longer needed and the transition from relief to the reconstruction effort begins. Once that begins, and we've already seen great signs of that in earnest with international agency partners and the actual energizing of many of the national capabilities of the Philippines, we will turn this over for the long-term effort. The Multinational Coordination Center has been central to our effective application of all of the resources of the many nations that you heard mentioned who have responded to this great tragedy. General Batista has assigned a counterpart for me inside the Joint Task Force 505, Lieutenant General Luga. He and I meet numerous times daily as we assess progress and determine where and when we can best apply the resources. In addition, he and I both assist in the process that takes place in the Multinational Coordination Center by being co-chairs in that. The contributions of all of the militaries as we go forward is simply a representation of the great partnership that we have with the government of the Philippines and the armed forces of the Philippines. It's an honor for us to be here and help. I wish it was under a different situation, but I am heartened by the great response by the government and the armed forces of the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will now come to the open forum, Q&A. We will only have 10 questions as everyone has commitments after this press briefing. May I know who will be the first one to ask? Joy Cantos.
Sir, good morning. Sir, in view of this Brobdingnagian, or rather colossal effect of Typhoon Yolanda, would you was it high time for our world leaders to act on climate change? Yes.
The Philippine government, especially the Defense Department, have fully supported initiatives for climate change concerns, and we remain committed to these efforts. We shall, as you know, climate change will be a whole of country concern, a whole of country effort, and the Department of Defense will continue to maintain its support on this front.
May I hear from our foreign contingent, sir, from the representative of the U.S. and others?
The only thing I would add is I think that for the United States, the same applies. I think that our governments are taking responsibility, but I must also add that addressing climate change is also an individual responsibility for everyone around the world.
Since it's a long road to recovery, sir, what can you tell the world, Yusek Batino, what's next for our nation? Foreign aid continues to pour. People on the ground were staggering. The situation is really heart-wrenching. What can you tell the world? What's next for our nation?
We will rebuild. The Philippine government will exert all the best, all the greatest efforts. Will call on all alliances, all partnership to make things happen for the rebuilding of our nation. The Department of Defense, as well as the Armed Forces of the Philippines, remain committed in providing all its resources in the relief efforts and also in the future rehabilitation efforts for the affected communities of Typhoon Yolanda.
May we remind the media just to ask one question. We only have 10 questions. Next question will be from Joel Ginto from Bloomberg.
Good morning. To any of the panelists, what's the latest assessment on the situation on the ground and the air and sea assets that we deployed? How does that compare? Is that enough to cover the scale of the relief? And will this group also be involved in the rebuilding and reconstruction?
Good morning. with regards to assets on the ground, the AFP on our side, we have mobilized about 400 trucks to help in the delivery of goods in whole of the Visayas. Most of them are in Samar and Leyte Islands. Now for the aircraft, we have more than enough aircraft, helicopters, especially the help of the Ospreys and helicopter assets of the United States Armed Forces, to bring goods in areas where the trucks cannot reach, especially the islands and far-flung barangays. Now, most of the local government units, the barangay at the barangay level, have already stand up and they have starting to organize. So there's a little problem on the distribution of goods. What we're trying to do is bring these goods to them, to the barangay level, and they're the ones taking care of the distribution. We have more than enough assets on the ground, both for trucks and air assets, especially with the help of the foreign military. With regards to transporting relief goods and equipment from Manila down to our hubs in Tacloban or Moc in Cebu, the C-130s, we still have the 3 C-130s, and then the foreign C-130s and other aircraft are doing this also.